All right, what am I doing with cut up paper bags, you might ask? Well, of course, I'm getting ready to plant onions. Okay, what I did here is I took these grocery bags that I've saved and I just cut the sides out of it. So you have a nice strip of brown paper. Didn't take but a minute, and you'd be amazed how much they cover. I only needed 6 bags to go 16 feet to make a row in my garden. But, you know, we were chatting at work the other day, and a friend of mine, and we were talking about onions and planting our onions, and the fact that we both agreed that weeding onions is terrible. Every time you pull a weed, it pulls out a little bit of dirt, and you get to the point where you're just about planting your onion as you're doing it. It's tedious, it's just no fun at all. So I came up with this idea, so it's kind of an experiment, but I just can't see why it won't work. And a couple people I've talked to about it say, yeah, that sounds good. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to soak these bags up with water. That way they'll lay down and they'll stick. And just like before, I'm planting them. I pulled up my drip line for the row I'm going to use. And I'm going to take and just put these right on top of what's left of last year's mulch, and a couple of little weeds poking through, but that's all right. The sacks will suffocate them and they'll be gone. Now, onions are one of my favorite things, but sometimes I've had trouble growing them, and I found out a year or so ago that one of the problems I was having, I was planting the wrong thing. Now, onions, there's 3 different varieties. There's short day, there's long day, and there's day neutral. And day neutral is what I need in my part of the country. But of course, I'd always gone to the discount store or the grocery store, and they'd have a little display of onion sets or onion plants with no idea what variety they were. They were just yellow, white, or red onions. So you didn't know what you were getting. And so I'd buy the silly things. Most of the time I tended to buy the sets. They're the most attractive. They look like a little onion. You can imagine this thing going to be an onion. Well, come to find out, onions are biannual. An onion will live for 2 years. In the first year, it comes up, makes its bulb. Then it overwinters. The second year, it's not as concerned about making a bulb. What it's concerned about now is blooming and producing seed for next year's onions. So I was planting the sets, and sure enough, every year I'd plant the silly things. I'd get a few green onions pulled out of the deal, then they all go to seed and they're no good. So, and you can cut the seed part off, the stalk off, doesn't help. That stalk is not onion. It's totally different, and it will spoil, and it just, you know, by the time you pulled that out of your onion and peeled it, you just don't have anything left. So we come up with this idea thinking maybe this will help us out. Now we're just going to take these paper sacks, make sure they're all wet, and I'm just going to lay them just like that, right against the ground. Probably should soak these a little bit longer, but I think we'll be okay. Probably want to overlap them a little bit. I'm not too worried about watering this stuff because it's sprinkled along all morning long, so everything will have plenty of moisture to it. So all right, there they are. Now, here's my onion plants. Now, what I did, I put them in a cup with some water for a few days before I planted them. And that gives them a chance to hydrate, and you can see they've already got roots starting and everything's good. And you can probably tell a little better if you got any dead ones when you do that. Because if they're not starting to grow, they've been sitting in water for a few days, they're not going. Now, I'm just going to plant a little bit so you can see it. In order to plant these now, you need a highly specialized tool. A sharp pencil. Now all I'm doing is I'm going to poke into the thing, down into the soil a little bit with my pencil, take an onion plant and just insert it, just like that. And there he is planted. Now, I'm going about 4 inches apart or so, because that's what, and you'll find when you go through your onion plants, you'll have all kinds of funky ones that you're not going to end up planting. I guess that's why they give you so many in a bundle. Now, probably the best way to do onions is to grow them from seed. Start them in January and get them growing. And then come mid-March or early March, when you're ready to plant them, you should basically have something the size of an onion plant you'd buy in the store. And buying them from seed is lots cheaper. In order to get plants that I knew were a day neutral onion to plant in Kansas, they ended up being $10 a bundle, and you had to buy 2. So that was kind of expensive, and I don't feel it was necessary. I could have bought a pack of seeds for about $3. I'd had to take care of them through the winter from about the 1st of January on, but you know what, I can do that. So next year, that's what we're doing. All right. Excuse me. I'm about done with this first little section, like so. So then what we're going to do is we want them to keep the moisture in and keep the weeds out. So we're going to put a nice layer of mulch. And also, this will help hold down the paper, because you don't want the paper bag blowing away and taking your onions with it and going off across the yard, you know, if you have a nice breezy spring. So there you are. There's planting onions, the paper grocery bag method. All right.